Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to our AAFLFC podcast. Today, I am honored to have as my guest Consul General of France in New York, Jeremie Robert. Jeremie Robert took office as Consul General in New York on September 3rd, 2020. Since September 2018, he was advisor for Africa, Development and Global Affairs in the office of the Minister of Europe and Foreign Affairs, Jean-Yves Le Drian. In this capacity, he contributed to the renewal of France's relations with Africa and the rebuilding of its development policy, and worked on the management of the crisis in the Sahel. He has worked for France's global priorities, in particular the preservation of global public goods, such as global health, climate, and biodiversity. During his career at the Quai d'Orsay, which he began in 2003, he served in the Africa and Indian Ocean Department. On Sudan, 2003 to 2006, during the Darfur crisis, in Nairobi, as France's Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations Environment Program, an advisor on Somalia from 2006 to 2009. In New Delhi, 2011 to 2014, as coordinator of the political chancellery. In Yaoundé, 2014 to 2016, as number 2 of our embassy in Cameroon, and as assistant director for West Africa, 2016 to 2018. He worked for the European Union in Kenya, 2010 to 2011. Jeremie Robert is a graduate of the Institut Politique de Strasbourg and holds a master's degree in international relations. He is married and the father of 2 children. Monsieur Robert, many welcomes and many thanks for being here with us today. We appreciate how busy you are and appreciate you taking the time to be here with us.
Bonjour et merci Kathleen. I'm going to speak in English, but I would like just to say a few words in French pour saluer tous nos amis francophones qui nous écoutent et vous remercier de m'avoir invité.
Monsieur Robert, could you start by telling us how you first became interested in advocacy for the French language and Francophone culture?
You know, being an advocate for the French language and the French culture is a personal passion because I was raised with a French education, French culture, French literature, and I traveled at a very young age to Francophone countries, especially in Africa, and I realized the power of the Francophonie and the fact that the French language doesn't belong to the French people, but it belongs to all the Francophone worldwide. So it's a very strong personal passion, but it's also a professional imperative. When you're a French diplomat, you have to promote the cultural diversity, the French language, the French culture, and this is a strong ambition from our president, President Macron, launched in March 2018 a strategy for multilingualism and the promotion of French, and he took some strong and bold step and took some initiative, notably to create a dictionary of the Francophonie, which will include all the added value from all the countries, the Francophone countries worldwide. And also, there's also this ambition to create a Cité de la langue française in Villers-Cotterêts, which will open next year. So this is a very important part of my job as a Consul General, is the promotion of the Francophonie.
Well, these are all wonderful initiatives. Thank you. Now, please tell us a little bit about your work as Consul General here in New York.
Yeah, you know, when you're Consul General of France, every word of the title counts. So you have France, because I'm here to promote the interest and to protect the interest of my country and the French people. Consul, because the consul really provides public service for the French community. We issue passports, we deliver identity card, social assistance, school grants, supports to French NGOs. And so this is really the consul part. When you're a consul, you really support the French community. The general part, Consul General, the general part is more the support to the influence of France in all aspects of the term, economy, tech, finance. When you're in New York, all these aspects are very important, but also culture, Francophone, the language, and all the soft power like gastronomy, wine, the sports. This is every factor which can contribute to the positive image of France, and also which can contribute to the partnership, the Franco-American partnership. So this is a very huge aspect of my role. It's more the general role. So this is French Consul General. So you have all these three aspects.
Big job. Thank you, Monsieur le Consul. Please now share your thoughts with us on the role and status of French language and Francophone culture in the US and in North America generally.
Yeah, you know, you have different levels. You have the French language as mother tongue, and we know it's the French language of different communities, either Americans in Louisiana or in some part of other part, notably in bordering Quebec and New Brunswick, but it's also the mother tongue of some Europeans community, obviously French, Belgian, Swiss, and other communities. Is also the home language of the mother tongue of people from Canada, and obviously also from Africa, because we have a strong African community living in New York. And we feel, and this is not only a feeling, but it's a reality, that French is being spoken widely. And I think we have about over 2 million people who speak French in the US. It can be more, and this is an ambition. We need to promote French. But this is the first level. The other level is for all the Americans or the foreigners who love the French language, who have a strong attachment for the French language, and also from the French culture. But I think it's not necessarily linked to the culture, because we can have a love for the French language and also love other culture than the French culture, notably in Africa. And this is important to promote the French for these communities, and to use the school. The schools are so important to promote French as a mother tongue for all these Americans who are willing to learn French. And this is a daily struggle. It's not easy. But it's a strong ambition, and we need to promote all the schools which are providing a bilingual curriculum.
Thank you, Monsieur le Consul. And I know you had just mentioned 2 million people, possibly more, in the US who speak French in the home. And as you know, also, between 10 and 20 million in the US are of French ancestry. What advice would you have for French language communities, for advocates, for stakeholders generally, who are working to support and to promote the role and the presence of French language and Francophone culture in the US? In other words, what advice would you have for us all?
It's a very good question. My advice, my main advice, is to stand firm and to pass the French language to the next generation. It's the biggest challenge to be able to pass the language to the youngest generation. It's not easy. It's a long-term commitment, to teach a language to the young generation. But we need to also show this younger generation that speaking 2 languages or 3 languages is an asset. Speaking English is important, but speaking French can open your horizons, can give you more professional opportunities, professional advantages. And this is all this that we need to convince the new generation, and it's a daily struggle. It's not easy, but I'm very optimistic that so much more can be done.
You know, you've touched on some of these areas, but while French and Francophone culture are present throughout the U.S., the New England states and Louisiana are among the areas with the highest percentage of population of French speakers. And in addition, New York, to some extent, I read recently that New York was actually referred to as the yet to be recognized capital of the Francophonie in the United States. How do you envision the present and the future of French language and Francophone culture in the New York region, in our New England states? I know you mentioned the areas of the U.S. bordering on Quebec and New Brunswick a few moments ago, and then in Louisiana. These are areas with different situations, but a common bond.
Yeah, so allow me just to concentrate on New York and its region, because I'm the Consul General of France in New York, so I follow and I cover the three states area, so New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. So Louisiana and the Maine, where I know you have a lot of French community, are followed by my colleagues. I know it's very important, and it's so important to be able to count on these communities in Louisiana, in the Maine area, I mean, in the area bordering Quebec and New Brunswick. But let me just talk a little bit about the situation in the three states. Situation that I have recently discovered, because I just started working in New York in September, so it's quite new for me. But I'm very encouraged with what I see in New York, in the city, and also outside the city. In New York, the situation is I mean, for the French language, it's quite impressive. You have about, I would say, 100,000 French people living in New York. You have much more Francophone. I cannot really count how many Francophone live here, but it's much more than that. There are 8 French school, meaning they get French curriculum, and you also have the public school, which offer bilingual curriculum, which is very important, because not everybody has the means, the financial means to go to, I mean, to put their kids in the private French school. So this is really important. There's a very good educational offer when it comes to French in New York, and this is really important. Outside New York, you do have Francophone, but sadly, you don't have schools, or it's something that we need to develop more schools outside New York. I know when you go to I mean, just outside New York, you have school, like in the Westchester, you have a big French lycée called the Fastney there. So, but it's when you go a bit further, you go to Buffalo, you go to, you don't have French school, so you rely, but you do have French-speaking people. So you rely on the Alliance Française. There's a good network of Alliance Française, and they actually provide a tremendous assistance to the Francophone, either to provide French classes as a foreign language, or even to give after class. It happens a lot in the region. After classes in French for the French-speaking people. The student, I mean, the kids go to an American school, English school, but they get after class curriculum in the Alliance Française in French. So this is so important. This is key, because, as I said, the children are the future of the French language, and we need to reinforce this network of Alliance Française which is so important. And I'm really, I admire the work that they are doing.
You know, it's true. The Alliance Française is a wonderful, wonderful institution. I agree wholeheartedly. You know, but you ended really referring back once again to the importance of the children, who of course are our future. As a parent myself, I'm always interested in bilingualism in the family, within the household, and the use of additional languages in the home. Please share with us, your thoughts on increasing the use of French in our homes and in our communities, in the family, the extended family. What advice would you have to offer us?
It's something that I have a very close to my heart. You will understand why. Schools are important, but schools are not enough. You need to, in the community at home, you need to speak French to your kids, to transmit French to the next generation. Sometimes our children don't go to a French curriculum, so this is even more important to be able to speak French at home. But even if they do go to a French curriculum or bilingual curriculum, the interaction and the discussion with the parents are so important. I will give you my personal example. I'm married to an Anglophone wife. I have 2 kids, so they are bilingual, but we always lived in Anglophone environment. You mentioned the countries, they were mostly Anglophone, like Kenya, India, and my kids went to the French school with a bilingual curriculum, but it was so important that I was the one speaking French with them at home. It was not easy because very often they answer in English to you, and you need to keep trying and keep speaking French to your children. And one day the magic works, and then your children can speak French. And so this is my best advice to everybody: is just if you speak French and if you want to help your children speak French at home, and it will help them in their development.
Thank you, Monsieur the Consul, for sharing that information and your own experience. You know, looking back, we've covered a great deal of territory, but this is a huge topic. Are there any additional insights that you'd like to share with us today?
Yeah, I just would like maybe to conclude to tell you that French today is the 5th most spoken language in the world, but by 2050, some studies show that it will become maybe not the 3rd language most spoken in the world, thanks to mostly from the African population, which is rising very, very fast. And I would like to maybe tell you to conclude with a few quotes that I found while preparing this interaction with you, and they show that French goes far beyond France, and it goes. So I could quote Albert Camus, which say, "My homeland is the French language." I love this quotation, and I could also share with you the quote from Tahar Benjeloun, another amazing writer, who say, "Francophonie is a house like no other. There are more tenants than owners," meaning there are so many people who speak French, and not one country can have the right to say that they own the language. It's a joint heritage, and this is why this language is so fascinating.
Thank you so much, Monsieur Consul. Your insights are really inspirational. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today. I very much appreciate it.
Merci, Catherine. Merci beaucoup.
Okay, we have stopped recording.
Okay.